Hello everybody and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing you a brand new review, and this week we are reviewing Babylon, which is now out in the UK. It's been out for months in America, and of course heading into Oscar season with the nominations coming on Tuesday, is potentially one that may feature a lot during the Oscar race. Maybe not as much as we thought 2-3 months ago, but that's going to be part of the conversation today. And as always, we want to hear from you, so please do comment your thoughts on Babylon. If you've seen the film, if you really enjoyed the film, if the film didn't work for you. This is one that's going to be very much about the conversation moving forward, and it's been really interesting seeing how polarising this has been, why some people really enjoy it, why some people dislike it. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think it makes for a fascinating discussion, and I want to hear that from everybody at home. And if you enjoy this review, if you enjoy Oscar season, do stick around. We've got a lot more stuff happening. We're going to have our Oscar predictions video up on Tuesday. We're going to head into Oscar season. We'll have a schedule. We'll have what films we're going to be covering, which we haven't already. We'll have a massive playlist. It's that time of the year again. Award season's kicking in. It's not the blockbusters quite yet, but it'll be interesting to see which of those do feature. So please do get involved. And if you want to find out more about what videos are coming up, what else is planned, do follow us on our social medias. That is Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy, and we have a link in the description where you can pick up some merch from TeePublic. Okay, Babylon. I'm going to give my thoughts heading into this film before I give my thoughts on the film, because if anyone's curious about my thoughts on Damien Chazelle, I love Whiplash. I think it's one of the best films of the last 10 years. I think it's what we call a perfect film. There's very few of those, if I'm being honest, and following up from that, I didn't like La La Land. I know I'm in a minority, a massive minority that really didn't like that film. And then following that, First Man, which a film I want to revisit, which I really didn't enjoy on the first viewing. I've not seen it since, but I think that's one that I might like more on a rewatch. So I'm in a very awkward moment because I still really enjoy him as a filmmaker. I enjoy his, not necessarily his craft, but his passion for the industry, for going for that big screen experience, which he spoke about so well in so many of our interviews. So he's a filmmaker that I do root for. Granted, some haven't worked for me, and those have worked for a lot more other people than me, which I always think is a really interesting point, because some people make out it's black and white. You like someone, you don't. It's never as easy as that. I like him. Some of his films haven't worked for me, but his best film is one of the best films I've seen in a very long time. So that's kind of my thoughts heading into Babylon. And then when I first saw the announcement that it's a film about film, it's going to be about, that sort of silent cinema era in the 20s. I was really intrigued, and you bring on Brad Pitt, Margot, Robbie, who of course, behind me on the poster, you see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, of course, we're in that, which is also a film about making films, which is a lovely little reunion in that respect. So when the casting was coming in and the scenes were set, I was really curious about this. And then obviously in the summer we had, I think at Venice, the first trailer came out, and the moment you get the Paramount logo being sniffed away, you kind of know what you're going to be in for with this. It's going to be the rip-roaring 20s, extravagant parties, orgies, everything, and very different to what I imagined the film would be, just heading into the marketing of the film. And then obviously you've had reactions from critics, from people that have seen it and stuff like that. So it's been really interesting seeing how different it's been looked at from many other films. When it was announced, this is something I do myself personally, which is a problem, and a lot of other people do. You see a film, you think award season, December release in America, UK like sort of January, which is always frustrating, but it's very much teed up for award season, the specific release dates of it. And unfortunately, financially, this film has gargantuanly flopped. Obviously it's come out against Avatar, which is a big reason of that anyway, and I also think the marketing has missed something, which I'm going to try and get into. But my initial thoughts on this film are quite lukewarm, which is really frustrating, because I believe inside of this film there is a great film, but I don't think it's something that I certainly got with my viewing experience. And maybe it's something that may take more time, maybe it'll be a second viewing, but just my initial thoughts. I saw it at the cinema yesterday, prime like 7 o'clock in the evening slot. There were 15 people in the screening, 1-5, which really isn't a lot. And when you think of the star power of Margot, Robbie, Brad Pitt, it's not interesting to see why this hasn't worked. I think the simple answer is that there's been a reception to this film that people have followed, people aren't bothered about. And I also think the marketing campaign has been over-marketed at the same party. I feel like the same bits of footage has been out there, and it's not done enough to bring in people. And I think the people that have gone and watched it, we're going to go and watch it anyway. I don't think there's anyone half curious that might have heard things that wants to go in and see Babylon, which is where it's sort of lost for me, that something's gone missing in the marketing. And kind of my thoughts on the film itself, I don't want to call it a missed opportunity, but There was something fundamentally off about the entire film. And I've got an analogy which I really don't like because it sounds a bit horrible, but I feel like Damien Chazelle has been given the concept of a drama talking about the silent era of film moving into the era of sound and the effect that has on actors within the industry. That is a phenomenal film. That would be a really interesting film or series or something to dive into. Where I fundamentally flawed with this film is that is the backdrop to let's have the orgies, let's have your elephant shitting on people, let's have the drugs, let's have the rock and roll, the cocaine, everything, all that sort of stuff. At any point, I, as a viewer, lost interest in the core of what the story is trying to tell, and it's a 3 hours and 10 minutes, full-length film. And I was so switched off at times, we'd go to another character, and I'd feel like we're wasting time with them, and it was so frustrating as a viewer, because there's some really interesting stuff in this, and kind of talking as well, I mentioned Margot, Robbie, Brad Pitt. Margot Robbie, I really didn't like in this film, which I know I'm going to be in a minority about, but her character was just fundamentally like not a good person, because I don't mind flawed individuals leading films, but at no point did I ever care about her journey, her story, and I was never gripped by it, and it reaches a point sometimes with characters where we follow them for so long, we just drop off, that you're going to do the same thing over and over and over again, not the performer, this is the character, the writing, that I lose interest and I don't care, and the characters made me feel that way when I don't think it's meant to be. I think we're meant to be empathetic. I think we're meant to feel sorry for her. And I didn't feel that at once in the film. And I'm not going to give any spoilers about anything like that. And there's other characters that work fundamentally so much better than her. And I think that's what's frustrated me as the viewer, is that there are other people we could have spent time with, and instead we do get this. And as I said, the overmiting, the same party on the posters, I'm using it on the thumbnail, that's been everywhere. I don't think that's interesting to bring in an audience. And it feels like a sort of student film in the logic of, I've got this great story to tell you about the industry and the effect this had on actors moving into a new era. But don't forget, guys, we've also got drugs, parties, rock and roll, nudity, orgies, everything insane. And the thing I'm going to try and compare it to is Wolf of Wall Street. The Wolf of Wall Street perfectly balanced the concept of chaos with story. And that's Scorsese at its best. Wolf of Wall Street is a fundamentally incredible film. And they were able to bring in the public, the general audience, by the insanity of what that film is. And I feel that Babylon has tried to do that, but it's just fundamentally failed. And it's so strange to think why. Because I mean, I think there are reasons that involved and issues involved, but this isn't something that's sustainable with the audience. Is the general audience going to care about film? No. I think so many people going are going to be fans of film that want to see this film about film in the 20s, and they're going to be leaving thinking, what the hell have I just watched? It's almost the backdrop for everything else. And that's where I find great issue with this film. And there's so many things I can't fault. I can't fault the incredible soundtrack. That has to win the Oscar, in March. That's surely going to be nominated. An unbelievable score that carries this film, that carries me through the film. It's so well done. It's a very, you've heard the theme on the trailers, that's the theme used throughout this. And the music is just incredible. The production design is second to none. The costume department is second to none. The actual craft that has gone into this, and where Chazelle delivers with the direction, is the actual film itself. It's how it is crafted, how it's been put together, how it is shown on screen. As I said, the sets, the costumes, the production design, spending time in old, the 1920s America. I mean, for anyone curious as to why it's called Babylon, for God's sake, obviously Babylon was the capital. I can't remember which empire it was, but it's even trying to be smart within itself in a title. The capital of an empire. I don't know the full histories of it, but that's, it's LA, it's the 20s, it's the birth of Hollywood. And it's so on the nose that I think a lot of people will be switched off from this. But I don't want to sit here and say it's up itself, because I absolutely hate that as a critical term. But there's something self-indulgent about this film that I really don't like. And I feel that Chazelle has a great film in here, as I said before. But for whatever reason, we aren't shown that. For whatever reason, we go with other issues, other directions, other things getting put forward. The amount of incredible actors in this film as well. Some in massive cameos, some that just pop up for a couple of seconds, leave a great impact. I love that kind of stuff. But the story's missing. The character development is missing. It's too by the book. Brad Pitt, I think, with an incredible character arc. Again, the star of the silent era, struggling in the era of sound as such. It's what we'd love to explore, and I think what's kind of not necessarily missed opportunities. Of course, this is fictional, but I wonder how many people really thought this was fictional. How many people might have thought this was non-fiction, and that's where I'm also struggling, that something has gone catastrophically wrong in the marketing for this film. Or they knew kind of what the reactions would be to this. You know, the public haven't took to it, certain critics haven't took to it, and maybe the Academy voters also haven't took to it. I'm very, very curious for Tuesday. So I feel early doing this review now, because I've had a day to sit on it and to sit think about it, so the stuff I enjoyed, what didn't, because I'll think of something great, and then I'm just switched off a couple of minutes later by something else, and it's frustrating. And the one thing I thought was really interesting was a guy in front of me when the film ended. You know, you get people that just try and say something for a statement. Some guy shouted like, "That's 3 hours, I'm not getting back," and we don't really do that in England. That's a stupid thing for an idiot to say in the crowd, but you know, it was very long and it felt long. And there's a cut in there, and you know, Tobey Maguire's in this one. I love Tobey Maguire. You know, anyone that's in this channel knows how much I love Tobey Maguire. I don't really understand why he's in it. I mean, I know why he's in it. If you've seen it, you know why he's in it. But it was kind of like, let's just cast Tobey Maguire to make memes. And that's how I viewed his performance. And I thought he was great when the energy that came up with him. But he's all over the marketing to turn up in the last like half hour. I'm stunned. And I'm stunned because I think this is a missed opportunity from, I think, a great filmmaker that does care. And it's just one that's not worked for me. No doubt will work for others. And that's where I'm going to kind of leave this review. I'm going to ask you, heading to Oscar season, what do you think this is going to be nominated for? And do you think this can actually win anything? Obviously, we'll know on Tuesday, the nominations. But I'm very curious to see how this is going to go down. Obviously, we know the BAFTAs, it's picked up, I think, 3 nominations, all for technical stuff. I think it's sound, costume and production design. I'm expecting them as a minimum at the Oscars. And I will be curious to see if any actors do get in there, if it sneaks into Best Picture. It's a really intriguing one. This isn't how I thought I'd be talking about this film a couple of months ago. And it makes it an interesting opening to Oscar season. So that's going to do it for today's review. I'll end it with, do I recommend this film? You know what, I would. I'm not going to sit here and say this is the must-get-to cinema experience. Not in the slightest. I know he's made it for the big screen, but it doesn't have any value of being on the big screen. There's not enough things set at the cinemas to have that wow, a film about film. Now, Fabelmans is out next week, which I'll be seeing. I've held off seeing it till the opening weekend. I've turned on some press screenings. I don't think there'll be a crowd when I watch it, but that's something I really want to watch in the moment, at that big screen, at that cinema experience. And I don't feel like I'm going to get that with Babylon, which is strange, because you think you would be, and maybe it's just me. But yeah, it's frustrating, but interesting nonetheless. And you know, if I'm going to say watch anything at the cinema, I'm going to say watch A Man Called Otto, because I saw it just before, and that was traumatising in a beautiful way. So that's my recommendation for film to see at the cinema this week. In terms of other videos that's going to be coming up, I'm going to try and get a review out for Devotion tomorrow, because it's magically drops on Amazon Prime with no marketing, with no knowledge of it going on Amazon Prime. A film about planes following Top Gun Maverick that you'd want to see at the cinema, which is on Amazon Prime. Hooray. So I'll be watching that today, and I'll have a review tomorrow for that. But in the meantime, please do comment your thoughts on Babylon, your thoughts on the Oscar season, the Oscar races, what you're looking forward to, what you're not looking forward to. If I've missed anything out, please comment it and let me know. I'll reply to any comments. It's very busy at the moment. Lots of big releases happening, lots of small releases. We've got The Last of Us airing every Monday. It's a really good time to be a fan of cinema, and we hope this sticks up in the coming weeks. So take care. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you on the next one.